Welcome to the Hamblin Vision in conversation with Emma Owen-Smith of Green Door Centre. In May of 2023, the Hamblin Centre, which had been home to the Hamblin Trust since 1960, became Green Door Centre. 1 year on from that date, I sat down with Emma Owen-Smith, new co-owner and custodian of what, to many of us, is a very sacred space. Situated in the grounds by Bosham House, where Henry Thomas Hamblin lived and worked, Emma, along with Marianne Borer and a team of staff and volunteers, are sowing new seeds on rich spiritual foundations, and they're there to create a centre for community and evolving consciousness. The vision of Green Door is one that embraces many perspectives, shining out from the truth that lies deep inside each and every one of us. Offering a programme of activities, events and classes, as well as themed retreats, the focus at Green Door is very much about empowering us to overcome our own limitations so that we might teach and inspire our wonderful and powerful new generation of children to be the change that the earth is asking for, and to uplift humanity by shining their beautiful lights and singing their soul songs. Emma is a qualified yoga instructor, has a master's in Indian religions, a diploma in crystal healing, is a shamanic therapist, and a qualified Reiki master. One might say a force of nature. And she's here with me today. Emma, welcome. It's so good to see you.
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's an absolute joy to be here. Thank you. And
so for those of you who've never been, please pay it a visit. Not only is it a beautiful, natural, physical site, but the work you're doing there, I think, is really inspiring. So it just seemed fitting that, you know, we're coming up to the 1 year anniversary of Green Door, being there at Bosham. And I thought it would be lovely to invite you here and have a conversation. It's very much one of the Hamblin Vision's focuses, meditation, the power of thought, and then how that works out practically. So how's it been this first year, and how do you feel about moving forward and the plans for the future?
Right, well, I mean, it's been huge, actually. Yeah. So we spent, I think, about 18 months before we took over, if you like, this time last year. And since then, we've been what I would call kind of weaving. We've been weaving and, you know, bit by bit, adding to what we always saw as already something very, very special. So, you know, over the, you know, last sort of like 40, 50 years, all this work had been happening at the Hamblin Centre. Of course, I've been there since 2006 teaching yoga, so I knew the place really, really well. And so what we came into was something so special and so tender and so cared for, so beautiful, that we really, you know, we still do feel really privileged that we're in a position to be caretaking the land. And I think that's how we see it, really, is that we're the new kind of caretakers. So it's been different. It's an unusual situation. Marianne and I, who are Green Door, but actually Green Door is actually Michael Hughes as well, who's my cousin, and he's our I mean, he's our financial and business director, and without him, God knows what would have happened, to be fair. But Marianne and I have been together as Green Door doing our events and teachings and workshops for years. And so we had been looking for somewhere to go to before we arrived, before this all happened. And I was thinking, you know, it's very different. If we had found a piece of land and then built something on it, we'd be starting from scratch, and it would look probably quite different. But when you're sort of inheriting a place, you know, there's a certain way of moving in, and we wanted to be really sensitive to that. So that's why I say we've been weaving, because I feel like we've just been, you know, putting the strands in. We've been trying to, as much as we can, kind of energize the place a little bit, because all of the people who listen to this and who've been there know what a gem it is. But obviously, over the last sort of 4 years, as we all did, everyone struggled and the land struggled.
Yes.
And I think it just, what we felt is we wanted to help energize it again. And so the last year has been spent gently moving in. In terms of the place itself, our aims were to make it sustainable and profitable. Obviously, because if we can't do that, then we're not able to really do the work we want to do. Broaden its appeal a little bit and really encourage all ages to come. And the other thing we've been trying to do is streamline a bit. So just, tweak it here and there, because obviously, again, coming back to the inheritance, we inherited a lot of classes and therapists who are wonderful, and we love them and we're very grateful for them. It's fantastic. But obviously there's some things that you need to tweak as you go along. And so in a way, having that 18 months before we even started was good, because we could start to see how it could work.
It's great. I think that you described that really well. And it is a unique thing, isn't it? I mean, moving into a space that was known as one thing and that's transitioning to another.
Yeah.
It's a delicate process.
Yeah.
But I think you're right to kind of highlight that element of it. And also for us at the Hamblin Vision, it's given us a real focus and a sense of, I suppose, freedom and renewal. It's like it's worked both ways, it seems to me. That the site down at Bosham is incredibly special, and kind of bears the sort of energetic imprint of so many different activities, like you say, over all of these years, not just of the people who've worked there and made it what it is, but the people who come, and the people who spend time there regularly. And I think for us at the Hamblin Vision, it's felt like a kind of new lease of life to kind of return to base and say, well, what was Hamblin saying? What was it that he wanted to communicate? Which perhaps may have got a little bit diluted over the years because of the need to maintain a physical site, and so I think it seems like that process we've tracked a bit, as two organizations over the last year, but I think that's the right thing, because actually, I know I'm not a great marketer. I don't know loads about marketing, but what I have read is that if you kind of aim for everything, you hit nothing. But actually, if you have a core, sense of identity and values and beliefs, then you naturally, without even trying, find your tribe and they find you. And
yeah, absolutely, I 100% agree. And because actually with the shamanic work I do, there's this whole thing about the thread of the ancestors. And if you don't sort out your own stuff, then it comes down, and it's going to come down into the children. Yeah, I mean, I think we've felt a duty, actually, a duty to the children. Going back to sort of the events around 2020 and so on, I do feel that the kids had a really tough time. I feel that they were the finger was pointed at them a lot, and I think that a lot of them underwent sort of trauma, really, kind of having to put on coverings, not being heard, not being understood, not being seen. What's going on. I just so for me, some of this came from that, actually. I feel like the kids now have, I mean, it's they have the technology so much more than we had, because it wasn't really there. There's a lot of pressure on them, and in schools now there is just a massive mental health issue. So I think as a response to some of that, we felt, I mean, we've always felt it, actually, but I think that triggered it more, that actually we have a duty to look after our children. We have a duty to somehow offer them opportunities to and I'd say learn new things, but actually learn old things.
Yeah.
Just be in nature, enjoy the land, learn some practical techniques for stress and anxiety.
Mm.
Um, yeah, get dirty, just play, have fun.
Yes.
So, so what we've been doing, and as I say, this did start before all of that. It did
Yeah.
start before, but so we had something called the children's fire that we started, which was basically the kids sitting around the fire. Everyone has an
Mm.
equal voice,
Mm.
young, old, doesn't matter. You have an equal voice, and everyone gets to be heard.
Mm.
We have a forest school at Green Door. Home ed girls come, they learn how to do gardening, they do yoga in the grounds. We've got Gemma from the Wellness Tribe who works with teens, and that's partnered with the Young People's Shop as well. And we've got our Flow Rider bus that you've seen, Mike, which is a big old American bus. And that's run by Ali Madden at the Avocado Project. And what they do is they go into schools, they offer breath work, they offer mindfulness, and likewise people come to the centre to do that. We've got mum and baby groups, and we're just really passionate and really keen that the kids, particularly kids who don't have a garden, kids
Yes.
who don't have a sense of community,
Yes.
that they've got opportunities. And when we haven't got a specific class on for them, a workshop in the half term and things, the kids come and they make a little shop and they sell things, and we're kind of we're encouraging a
Brilliant.
bit of entrepreneurialism, but so it's a bit of everything really. But it's probably one of our most passionate kind of things we want to do, definitely.
Yeah, I think that really comes across. And it's something that I I'm not into predictions, but I kind of feel that we're going to be seeing a lot more of that in the years to come. Simply because, it doesn't take a genius to look around at the world and see that a lot of the work that we've all been doing on ourselves and the generations above us and before, it has to continue, but in a way that's responding to now, is responding to the situation in society, the situation in the planet, and I just love that the kids who are getting involved, they're in a way they're learning the skills and the vocabulary and the language that we all use to help ourselves in crisis.
And I think what I also like to make clear is that while we are offering all of those things, we're also very much on the ground with the kids. We're not, much as I would love to tell you my children were little angels and ate all their vegetables, and they had sort of 10 minutes of tech a day. That's on the ground.
Yeah.
We are doing the best we can. But yeah, just trying to model, I suppose, certain things, and that they know that actually, if I get in stress, Mum, I've seen you do this thing, or I remember doing it when I was littler. Perhaps so. For instance, there's things like Ali teaches a thing called the mountain breath, which is, if I put my hand here, you just inhale and exhale, sort of like little mountains like this. She teaches the kids. And they, that's one of the things that they will pull up themselves. They'll remember that. So very simple little things, because actually, I remember a yoga teacher of mine once saying to me, I think I must have been pregnant, or, kids were very little. She said, the worst mistake I made, she said, is making my children do yoga with me every morning. She said, because they just, sort of did not want to do that.
Yeah.
So I remembered that. And actually, so I had an early morning practice when my children were little. And I didn't make them do it at all, but it was quite funny because I was determined to have my own practice at my own time. So I would do it, even though they were climbing all over me and screaming at me, and I would just sit sort of in this very sort of upright position, even though they're pulling my hair and putting trains on me and things. Just to, because that, partly that's what I need to do, but also you see it then, and maybe that's an option for you as you get older, and mental health is huge. It was the same for me. I was very up and down in my 20s, and it was
Mm.
yoga that completely sorted, well, I say sorted me out, you know, none of us are perfect.
Yeah, yeah. But I get exactly. It just makes sense that we then pass on, you know, those opportunities to children and young people. So I think that it's such a striking thing to me about the vision that you have. But also, of course, like something really jumped out at me looking at the website this afternoon, look at the Green Door website, is that if we can ourselves, you know, overcome the obstacles that we have, or if we can heal the past trauma or the pain, or address within ourselves just whatever is maybe like holding us back, or I don't know, causing any kind of disturbance, then like you say, we're modeling that for
Yeah,
the next generation, you know.
yeah,
And that's something that you can kind of see that with more of that happening in different parts of the world, that then that could, I mean, we don't know, do we, but it's worth a try. It could actually then be just a new way that society, that humans respond to what happens.
absolutely. And the more healing we do on ourselves,
Mm.
then, you know, we are changing our own frequency, aren't we? We're
Yeah.
changing. So if we can do that, then automatically, you know, if we're just talking about pure energetics, that's what
Yes.
we're giving off, and then the people tend to rise up a bit and, you know, get the inspiration, don't they? And it's the same for
Mm.
children as well. So
Mm.
in fact, more probably for kids, because they've got less mind stuff, less sort
Yes.
of your tricky thought patterning. You know, it's simpler, isn't it? Up to a certain age, it's simpler. So, you know, little kids are so, you know, they're so naturally about frequency, aren't they? And
Yeah.
they sort things out very quickly. They say that when children start, you know, crying and shouting, it's their own way of sort of modeling and sort of getting back to a more balanced state. So we
Mm.
want to say shush shush, be quiet, but actually what they're doing is just very naturally sorting themselves out, but we don't like it because our
Yes.
programming says you're embarrassing me in the supermarket.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
you
Like
know,
getting it out, right? Like I always love that example. I think it was an Eckhart Tolle recording or something. He uses the example, and it's actually in the book as well, The Power of Now. He uses the example of the ducks on the duck pond, you know, when they have a disagreement, you know, they bump into each other, or one, you know,
yes,
in another's territory. They have a real flap at each other and they quack, 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 and they splash around. And then the matter's settled and they go off in their different directions. And that's it, it's done. It's clean. It's like, you know, I find that uh, you can see, viewers at home, that I've got an injury at the moment. Like, it's actually my collarbone and shoulder. But you know, kind of leaning into that and saying, okay, so this has happened. I'm not, you know, it's no good sort of really feeling a victim around it. You know, what can I learn from this? You know, it might seem like trouble, but actually sometimes angels come disguised as demons, you know, or you know, a blessing comes in disguise. So, so I guess in a way that it, that's sort of looking at the world like, well, if we dive into this, maybe we can find the freedom that we want, you know. Or that I'm also thinking of it in meditation, when we just sit with something and allow
yeah,
it to come out, right? Allow, like, heavy, dark, or tense, angry feelings. They sometimes just want to be free, right? And that's the kids' logic you're talking about. You know, that tension is like, "Wah!"
yeah,
It's out there. You know, it's not in them anymore. You know, they're
no,
them settling themselves, and they're fine. You know, this has been the first year
yeah.
Green Door Centre, and that will be next week, won't it? So what are you looking forward to? You know, looking ahead for this coming 12 months.
So I think more of the same. One of the things we are very aware of is that we, you know, as we talk a lot about, you know, kind of evolving consciousness, and
Mm,
people use the language of sort of moving from 3D to 5D and the new
mm,
Earth and Age of Aquarius and all of this.
mm.
I think that as consciousness is naturally evolving, I do believe that. I think, you know,
Right,
we
yeah.
can help it along, as it were,
Mm,
by doing our practices and being aware, but I think it
mm,
naturally is as well.
mm,
We are consciously wanting to allow whatever happens at the centre to evolve. We want to listen to the land, be guided by the land, and allow whatever needs to be seen and heard to, you know, rise and show itself. We don't want to push at it, and we don't want to throw things at it, because actually we've noticed the land won't have it. If we try that and it doesn't like it, you know, it becomes quite obvious actually.
Yeah.
So we want to be more, rather, you know, if we're talking about a business model,
yeah,
we're not really wanting to, I mean, we want to move forward, obviously. We want, as I said earlier, we want to be sustainable. We're on the right trajectory, absolutely, and becoming profitable and all of that. So that's great.
Yeah.
But we're not going in at it with a really sort of, you know, meow like that.
Yeah.
We're wanting to lean back. We're wanting to be receptive. We're wanting to really work with our intuition, which is what we do naturally. And the more work we do here, because I do see our work as our practice, the more work we do here, the more we're learning to really trust our intuition. And I think that a big part of our development as a species actually is really learning to trust ourselves. I think that, sorry, slightly diverting here, but you know, there is so much going on in the outside world. There's so much information available, and there's so much confusion that actually I think the outside world is mirroring something to us, which is like, there, don't look over here, don't look out, because it's so confusing. You'll get so many mixed messages. Go back to self, meditate, be quiet, go within, lean in, lean back. So that is kind of what we are aiming to do as Green Door, you know, just continuing that in terms of, you know, we're really looking forward to welcoming more people. We're looking forward to doing more stuff with the kids. We're looking forward to some fun summer activities, maybe getting some music in the grounds and families and friends, and, you know, kind of the community part, really building that. Maybe even a little Christmas review. What do you think about that?
Payments of sorts. Yeah. We should think about that. No, I think that's great. And the retreats as well, of course, you know, the weekend retreats, themed retreats, you know, in the lodges and also in the hall.
If you are giving your attention to something on the outside, which is inherently negative and, you know, disempowering, then you're kind of feeding it, really.
Yeah.
So the way I see it is it's more of a natural turning away, but not, like you say, not a sort of this isn't existing, not a denial of, but just a very natural turning away in order to put your focus into. See, it seems to me that everything's almost everything's got so confusing that people are doing the turn away or whatever, and you know, really going to grassroots. What's important? What can I see with my own eyes? What can I see? What can I feel with my own feelings? So, you know, your own family or your friends, or, you know, what's close.
Yes, I love that. I do that all the time. I'll confess, I am at times a bit of a news junkie, but it gets to a point where I'm like overwhelmed. And so then it's a question of, well, what can I do? You know, I mean, yes, there are things that I would like to change that are happening in the world. There's suffering and distress that I would like to do something about. So then it comes to the question, well, what can I do right here, right now? You know, if I don't have the money to go and set up a charitable project in a deprived part of the world, you know, or an area of real stress and strain, well, maybe I can sort my own house out here, get my own house in order, and maybe I can, you know, like you say, what can you do? Where's your sphere of influence? You know, because that's enough, right? We know that already with the kind of holographic nature of the universe, that when we change, something else somewhere changes.
Absolutely. And you can still, you know, you may not have the money, you may not be able to go and, you know, make your voice heard, or you know, get your hands dirty, but you can, you know, direct loving thoughts and positive intention. And we know how, you know, there's been so many studies now, haven't there, around meditation, group meditations, about how powerful they are. So I think that, you know, the more that we can really embrace these you know, the idea of the invisible, that which isn't seen. You know, we've been taught that our imagination is useless. I mean, no.
Yes.
None of us would be where we are if it hadn't been for our imagination. We had to think, I want to get here, I want to get here, or I don't want to get here, either which way. So I think that we've got to start really, embracing what is not seen and trusting that. And it is so powerful, actually. So, yeah.
Just, I don't have children, but I was just imagining when you were describing that we might not be able to do the things we want to do, but the things we can do still have an impact. And I just had an image of, saying to a child who was maybe concerned, because this is another thing that is new about the generation of children now, that they're much more aware of, poverty, of the crisis in the climate, and they feel that they want to take action over it, right? So I don't know, I just had this image of saying, well, we might not be able to do that, but every time you pass someone on the street, you can secretly wish them well and send them kindness, because not only could that potentially have a real great effect on that person in the area where you are, but maybe you'll feel better too. We've all done that,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
When we carry an attitude of forgiveness, or an attitude of acceptance or compassion or understanding, not only is that healing for the people we meet, but we're healed too in the process.
Absolutely. Really powerful stuff. Yeah. I agree.
And so it's so exciting that both us organizations, Hamblin Vision and Green Door, are at this new stage of our new journeys together. And yeah, like you say, it's listening, being with, and being in a way, being brave enough to be led. That's what I like about what you said there about listening to the people who come to you, the land, waiting a little bit and just seeing, where does life want us to take this? Where does the land want to go?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is the new paradigm, actually. I think, this sort of male and female balance. We're all very aware of, the imbalances, inequalities. And I think, again, it's a natural thing that's happening. I think a lot of this is very, very natural. Really want to, encourage more men. And actually that is happening. We're doing men's circles as well, which is great. So yeah, it's all of that. It's about, I think it's about the swing, isn't it? Things have got out of balance and they need to come back in. And we all need to just learn, don't we? Learn how to communicate with each other. I really think that's the case now. I mean, I can only speak from a personal perspective, really, but I've done sort of all my yoga training days when I was sort of doing 2 or 3 hours practice a day, and then off to India and ashrams and chanting and meditation and all that wonderful stuff. And I went through a phase of thinking I was going to, go to a cave and live in sort of on the Ganges and, really quite seriously.
And then some people do and have done.
And have done it. And I think that, somewhere along the line, something starts to change. Maybe it is about becoming a householder, as you would say, and sort of, having kids, responsibilities, and just, again, a very natural thing of when you follow your dharma or your path. I really think that that is your practice. That's I mean, yes, you can do other things alongside it, of course, but if you're living your day to day, really alert and aware, so that you notice when you're being, judgmental. You notice, it's just that general awareness, isn't it? You notice when you're being reactive. You notice, when things are rising up. And you hopefully, if you can, you deal with them at that moment, but maybe you didn't. But it's that constant sort of svadhyaya, that self-study, which I think we're lucky enough that we are doing what we love to do in the most beautiful place. So lucky, so blessed, that we are able to do that. But anyone can do that, can't they? Anyone, if you have the desire, you can totally live your practice, and it doesn't need to be lofty.
Maybe you already are living your practice. That I love the idea that that we already have the material to work with, and it's the stuff that
Yeah.
we don't want. It's all the things that cause us difficulty. If you could pick one piece of advice about how to live a life of practical spirituality, what would it be? Maybe we just said it, but if you
Yeah.
could sort of say, maybe if you could say one thing, like if someone
Yeah.
says, I spend a lot of time reading books, it's quite theoretical, and what can I do practically to
Yeah.
live spiritual life?
I think I've thought about this a lot, and there's in a way you want to say something really deep and philosophical and blah blah blah, but actually, I think that probably one of the best things you can do is find your joy, find what makes you happy, do the things you love, be with the people you love, because that naturally raises this frequency. It can be really simple, gardening or reading or whatever it is. I think it's about, again, frequency, about energetics, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we all know that when we do something we love, or we hang out with our friends, the people make us light up, that's, again, I feel that's when we are really close to source. That's when we're, the divine is activated, is when we're in those places. So I actually think it's I think that's what I would say is
find what you love, find your joy, find what makes you really come alive, the things you love, and do that.
Yeah, I think so.
What a great thing. And that makes real sense to me, that it shines through each of us individually, that idea of a stained glass window, or the pattern of, so that divinity coming through one person might be making furniture with wood, or or accounting, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Do that.
It doesn't matter, does it?
Exactly.
It's what you love. It's what you love, and then you really get that connection with your sense of God or divinity, or whatever you like to call it. It doesn't matter, but that's what we are. We're in the end analysis. If we are all one, then that's where we want to locate ourselves.
This has been such a nice conversation, and I'm really glad that we were able to connect at this time.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Mike. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. It's been lovely, and and I just think that the work you guys are doing at Hamblin Vision is brilliant. And actually, just to quickly say what you said earlier about is giving you a sort of revival and coming back right into the teachings, I think.
And my sense is that Hamblin would be so excited by the possibility of email and reaching people, because like those periodicals and writing and sharing his publications, that was the thing, right? So he'd probably be like, well, it's fine, the land there's okay, you can reach people all around the world with my books. Here you are. There's loads of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We'll leave it there. Thank you, Emma Owen-Smith. And for anybody who's been watching this, if you want to learn more about the work that Emma, Marianne, and all the other wonderful therapists and practitioners are doing at Green Door, you can reach them at greendoorcentre.com. Thanks for watching. You can reach us, of course, at thehamblinvision.org.uk. Thank you, Emma, for joining. And
thank you.
My huge thanks to Emma Owen-Smith for taking the time to sit down and talk to me about the year just gone and all of the plans and dreams for the year to come. If you'd like to learn more about the Green Door Centre, you can visit them online at greendoorcentre.com. We wish them all so much success. Thank you for watching.